The Fae, or more commonly known as Fairies, are the main villains of the TV show From, and I will go over all the clues that point to this. To start off, what are the Fae? A Fae is a mythical being in folklore across Europe, and they are typically characterized as ethereal, otherworldly, or supernatural spirits. Fae have many names, such as fairies, fair folk, kind ones, little folk, and good neighbors, just to name a few. The myth of them is vast and diverse from many different sources across Northern Europe. Because of this, there are different versions and interpretations of them, but certain trends do dominate above others. The Fae powers range from magic, shapeshifting, turning into monsters, witchcraft, illusion, and photokinesis, which is the ability to generate and control light. Fae are held responsible for many mischievous and harmful acts, from vandalism, theft, kidnapping, and murder. The Fae are deadly tricksters and will often lead people astray at night or to their death if they can. For example, tricking people to fall into a pond of water and drown. Even though they are very cruel, they can actually be friendly at times. The Fae have been known to give humans gifts from time to time, and they don't always have bad intentions. Different cultures describe them as spirits of the dead, demoted angels, demons, pagan deities, or a distinct type of human. The full mythology of them is vast and beyond the scope of this video, but let's go over all the evidence that the people of Fromville have been kidnapped by the Fae and brought to Fromville to be tormented by them. Firstly, what does the word Fae mean? Fae is a Scottish preposition that literally means from. That is quite a bit on the nose, but it is a hidden detail in the name of the actual show. As well, at the start of the show in episode 1, we do hear Julie telling her younger brother a story about fairies and monsters. I do believe that this is subtle foreshadowing. The first supernatural beings that everyone encounters when going to Fromville are the crows, and I believe that they are something in fairy mythology called the Slough. The Slough are the hosts of the unforgiven dead in both Irish and Scottish folklore. They are often associated with fairies and are said to be able to pick a person up and transport them through the air to faraway lands. The Slough are often described as a flight of birds, and I believe are used to transport people from all over the United States to Fromville. The talismans seem to be a mix of different cultures. In terms of protecting oneself from fairies, there are many different things that people are able to use, such as charms, wearing your clothes inside out, church bells, and four-leaf clovers. Furthermore, one of the most popular types of protection from fairies is actually bread. Bread represents the home and the taming of nature through industry, and certain types of fairies dislike it. On the other hand, some Celtic lore does say that baked goods can be used as an offering to the Fae, and they believe that the bread was a prototype food and therefore a symbol of life. As well, the metal iron is said to be an effective repellent and can be used to drive them off. So in the end, protection against the Fae is a vast lore with no specific rules, so the people of Fromville using talismans are not completely out of the realm of possibility. Furthermore, the talismans only specifically protect against the monsters, and not the magical being associated with the dreams and the blood curse. The monsters themselves seem to be bound by more rules than actual fairies normally are, which does hint at them being some type of a monster that is specifically separate from the Fae. I do believe that one or more fairies are associated with the blood curse, the dreams, the children, and the various magical things going on around Fromville. However, the monsters seem to be their own thing separated from the fairies. I am going to go into them a little bit more later in the video. We also can't rule anything out as being an illusion or a trick because this is common among the fairies. Light seems to be a big part of the TV show. The lighthouse seems to be the beating heart of Fromville, and it does put off a beam of light that is far more powerful than it should be based off of how big the actual flame is. Furthermore, lighting up the torches does seem to have some type of magical ability. As well, the ability to power everything with no electric source could be the result of light being created or manipulated into the form of electricity. I do believe that this points to the power of the Fae and their control over light. Furthermore, how do the children play a role in all of this? The Fae are known for being thieves, which does explain the random items in Frumville, including the animals, buildings, and the people. There are also many myths about the Fae kidnapping children. Some of the stories are about good fairies that take the children to a land where they don't have to live in the miserable human world. Other mythologies are about dark fairies that steal the human babies and make them slaves under demonic possession. Perhaps both of these are true, and the boy in white was taken by one of the good fairies, and the other children were taken by evil fairies. That would explain the contrast between them. However, this is just speculation. Either way, all of the children were most likely stolen by the fairies as babies. There is something called the Fae Court, which has also been referred to as seasonal courts of the Fae living in Fairyland. The Fae are divided into two courts, the Seelie, which is associated with summer and spring, and the Unseelie, associated with winter and autumn. The Fae are more powerful, closer to the season that they are associated with. Frumville seems to be in some type of a forever summer, where its seasons don't align with regular ones on Earth. The changing of the seasons will most likely play a big role in the TV show and bring out new threats, as the Unseelie type of Fae associated with winter will gain more power and can use it on the people of Frumville. So it will be interesting to see exactly how winter plays a role in the TV show. So where exactly is Frumville? There are a few possibilities, and I want to go over what I think is the most likely. Considering only people in the United States are taken, and based off of the trees and the landscape, I do believe that Frumville is an actual physical location somewhere in North America. It's probably a small area surrounded by a bubble of magic, and there is actually a drawing of this in the TV show. If you could get past the magic, I do believe that you could theoretically get there by conventional means. However, most people are brought there by the slaw from all over the United States. In the cave drawings, it does show that people used to come to Frumville on boats. I personally believe that these are probably Native Americans on canoes, and that they used to get to Frumville by the river before modern roads were built. They could also be some of the first Europeans to sail across the ocean, considering the dates in the lighthouse would line up with this timeline pretty well. Then at some point, some type of a ritual was completed. There is tons of evidence that things in Frumville tend to repeat themselves. Whether it's the tease of time travel, the infinity symbol being drawn on the wall, or the dates in the lighthouse, showing that from time to time a major event happens which seems to reset the events of Frumville. I'll explain in a moment exactly what I think that event is, but firstly I want to briefly go over some more mythology from the Fae. The Feywild is the realm of the fairies, and is the place where the Fae originated from, and it is a possibility of where Frumville is. The Feywild is a place of unrestrained and awe-inspiring natural beauty. Furthermore, it is always bathed in twilight, with lanterns, fireflies, and haunting lights. The Feywild is said to enhance all sensory and emotional sensations. The fairies have been known to kidnap people and bring them to the Feywild from time to time. However, I don't think that the Feywild really explains what we see in Frumville. First off, visually, it doesn't match Frumville at all. Frumville looks very much like a place on Earth. Perhaps this is just an illusion, which is a possibility, but I personally don't think that we are actually in the Feywild. I think what is actually happening is something that is called the Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt is a folklore across European society, and it typically involves a chase led by mythical figures, and they are escorted by ghostly or supernatural hunters engaged in the pursuit. The leader of the hunt is often a person associated with Germanic legends, such as Odin, a historical figure, a king, biblical figures, or a lost soul. They are not male or female and can range from many different places. The figure over the hunt has not been specifically revealed in the TV show yet, but perhaps the drawing in the cave is a drawing of this individual. The character of Tilly is my personal choice for who this individual is, or perhaps she is some type of other mythical being. The hunters that participate in this ritual are generally the souls of the dead, which does match pretty well to the monsters that we see in the TV show. The monsters do appear to be random people that have died in the past. As well, the wild hunt often involves ghostly dogs, which we do seem to have an encounter with from time to time in the TV show. When it comes to the hunt, there can be fairies, valkyries, or elves involved with it. As well, there can be other mythical creatures involved. This would explain the wide range of strange things that we see happening in Fromville, since there are many different types of creatures participating in the wild hunt. Furthermore, seeing the hunt was thought to foretell some catastrophic event, such as a war or a plague. Different people in the TV show, such as Victor, have had visions of the future, so this would fit in line with what we do know about Fromville as far as seeing the future. People encountering the hunt could also sometimes be abducted to the fairy kingdom. I believe that the humans in Fromville are being unwilling participants in the hunt. The souls of the dead are hunting them, and perhaps the fairies or other magical beings are involved. The dates on the wall in the lighthouse and the drawings on the cave shows a long history, and perhaps the hunt does go through cycles, or is used to predict catastrophic events in the real world, and this may be what the dates are. The mythology of the Fae is vast and leaves room for interpretation, so there are many things that you can draw from. I do believe that much of the strange and random things going on in Fromville can be pulled together with the powerful magic of the Fae, and we are seeing the events of the Wild Hunt play out in different ways. But what do you think? Please let me know, and thanks for watching.